Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I got Clyde is here today. He decided to join us for the show this morning. And, the weather here in northern Minnesota is quite interesting. A few days ago, we were in 43 and then it dropped back into sub-zero. And whenever it does that, everything, of course, melts. And then it snores on top of that and freezes, and it's extremely slippery out there. Um, I think I went out last night, and my road, is the worst of the journeys that I had. So you got to go like 5 miles an hour on the road here, or else you're going to go off, slide right off. So it's kind of crazy. So I am Dr. Jeff Evenson. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health. All right, and Clyde is leaving. I am not a medical doctor. I'm a holistic health doctor. I work on people actually getting people their health back, rediscovering who they are, remembering who they are. And it's hard to do all of that when your health is in the shitter. And so I work with people to get their health back without drugs or surgery, do it through nutrition and supplementation, coaching, teaching, mentoring, modeling good health behaviors. And it works when you work the program. Okay. So today, I don't diagnose, I don't treat, I don't cure. Those are all words that the medical system um, is locked onto. So not supposed to use those words. And I had fun kind of putting the show together. I base it off of, if you've been following some of the drips that I've been posting out on Facebook throughout the week, it kind of fell into a theme for me, and that was trying to get men's attention for encouraging them to step up and start taking responsibility for their own health. Um, and I'm speaking from experience on this because I did not used to take my health seriously, especially during my married years. I mean, I worked out and stuff when I was in the Navy because I had to. After I retired, things went down. I didn't have to work out and all that kind of stuff. Uh, but the awareness is there that sometimes I felt like my spouse was more concerned about my health than I was. Okay. I always thought I had to just keep going and keep going and keep going. And guys, we are not the ever ready bunny. At some point something will give in your health journey if you are not going to pay attention to yourself. And so I know the show is going to be geared toward me talking to men, but I also want to talk to men through their women. So if you're a woman and you have a man who's stubborn about their health, forward this stream or the show to them and ask them to listen to it, because I'm going to be talking to the men. But I oftentimes in practice I have learned that many of the men that have come to me because their wives suggested they go get checked out. And it's time. So hopefully something I say this morning will definitely resonate with you, man or woman, because some of the things that I'm going to talk about certainly also apply to women's health. Also know a great deal, a number of women who will put themselves on the back burner because they're busy taking care of everybody else and not themselves. Okay. So it's a two-sided coin, but I wanted to just talk about this lie that men are living with. And, hopefully something I say will resonate. And so I just want to say, here we go. It's good morning and welcome back to Morning Coffee with Doc Jeff. So let's get started. I want to start today by saying something that might make some men uncomfortable. If you're tired all the time, if your motivation is gone, if your sleep is trash, if your body doesn't respond the way it used to, and you keep telling yourself, I'm fine, I'll deal with it later, you're not being tough. You're being trained. And most men have been conditioned to believe that ignoring their body is strength, that pushing through exhaustion is noble, that admitting something is off means they've somehow failed. And guys, I'm telling you, that lie is killing us, is killing men slowly. Okay? I see it every week in my practice. Strong men, smart men, hardworking men, men who lead businesses, families, and teams, men who will take responsibility for everything except their own health. They wait until something breaks, not because they want to, but because no one ever taught them how to listen before the breakdown. And here's the truth that most men don't want to hear. Your body has been talking to you long before it started yelling. Low energy, weight gain, brain fog, poor sleep, loss of drive, sexual health issues, chronic aches. Those aren't random, they're warnings. And ignoring warnings isn't strength. It's avoidance dressed up as toughness. And real strength, in my opinion, real strength is having the discipline to stop, look honestly at what's happening, and take action before crisis forces your hand. I can't count the number of people I've known over the years where they go and they go and they go, and all of a sudden, poof, they're in the hospital because they had a heart issue, a heart attack or something. Guys, now is the time to start training, to start looking at your health now, because at some point you're going to become an old man. And when that point happens, when you wake up and suddenly realize that you're an old man, you're going to have one of two options. Are you a healthy old man and you're enjoying your retirement years and all that kind of stuff? Or are you a sickly old man where somebody has to help you toilet, help you get into bed? They need to come in and wipe your ass. You have the opportunity today to turn that around. That's what today's show is about. It's not shame. It's not fear. It's not quick fixes. It's about reclaiming leadership over your body. Because if you won't lead your health, it will eventually lead you somewhere you don't want to go. And guys, I have been there. I have been in that place where you don't want to go. I've been in multiple surgeries in the hospital. Why? Because everything I did could have been prevented had I stepped up and recognized what was going on. I didn't want to admit. I thought if I admit that something is going wrong with my body, I would come across as weak. And guys, that's just not true. So I'm going to break down why men get stuck here. Okay, what's really going on beneath the surface, and how to start turning this around in a way that actually works with your body instead of fighting it. So grab your coffee, set your ego down for a moment, and let's get into it. And if you're just joining the show, I'm going to open up the comments here. Be sure to comment in if you can and tell me where you're watching. from. It's always fun to see where people are listening from. So, why men? The first segment I'm going to talk about it's a funny title, I guess. Why men wait until the body breaks. Okay, so let's talk about why men wait. Okay, not why not why they say they wait, but why they actually do. Okay, most men don't avoid dealing with their health because they don't care. They avoid it because facing it threatens their identity. And you can sit there and throw the bullshit flag and say, no, that's not it. But I'm going to throw it right back at you. I've worked with enough people, including myself, that it's a hit. I used to think that it was a hit on my identity. From a young age, men are trained to perform, provide, protect, and push through. Pain is something that you work around. Fatigue is something you ignore. Symptoms are inconveniences, not signals. So when the body starts whispering, men dismiss it. Poor sleep becomes, I just don't sleep well. Low energy becomes, I'm just busy. Weight gain becomes, that's just age. Loss of libido becomes stress. Brain fog becomes, I need more caffeine. And for a while, that strategy works until it doesn't. So I want to pause here and say, let me be clear on this, okay? This isn't a motivation talk. If motivation worked, you wouldn't still be dealing with this. Most of the men I work with are already disciplined. What they're missing isn't drive, it's direction. So here's what I want men to understand, okay? The body doesn't suddenly break. It negotiates quietly for years. Every ignored symptom is a negotiation. Every push through day is a withdrawal. And eventually the account runs dry. Okay? By the time most men reach out for help, they aren't curious, they're desperate. Something has crossed a line. Sleep is wrecked, energy is gone, blood pressure is up, blood sugar is off, sexual function isn't what it used to be. You saw some of my posts this week where I talked about the floppy noodle, no morning wood. Guys, your erection is going to be a barometer on your actual health. If your erection isn't working, something is going on inside your body, whether it's stress, it's toxic overload, parasites, it could be anything. Yes, talking about your penis. When that happens to me, I know exactly it's time for me to stop, do a systems check, and figure out, okay, what is off? What's going on? And I can usually figure it out, take some action, and get things turned around. By the time most men reach out for help, they aren't curious. As I said, they're desperate. Um, Sexual function isn't what it used to be. Mood is shorter. Motivation is flat. And then comes the moment that really traps them. The medical system says your labs are normal. Now the man is stuck. He knows something is wrong. He feels it every day, but he's told everything looks fine. So what does he do? He goes back to tolerating it. He pushes harder. He doubles down on the same behaviors that got him here. And that's where men get lost. Okay. I want to say this too because it matters. Being told that your labs are normal doesn't mean your body is functioning well. It just means you haven't crossed a disease threshold yet. The body knows long before the paperwork knows. Because conventional medicine is designed to diagnose disease, not restore function. And if you're not broken enough yet, you're told to wait. We're going to watch it, we'll monitor it. But your body isn't waiting, it's adapting in ways that will cost you later. And this is where I work differently. I don't wait for disease to show up on a chart. I look at stress patterns, system overload with people, nutritional deficiencies, toxic burden, nervous system exhaustion, and the early breakdown of communication inside the body. When a man finally slows down enough to listen, something powerful happens. He realizes he isn't failing. He's been ignoring the data. And leadership isn't about being invincible. Leadership is about responding early. Strong men don't wait until the engine blows to check the oil. They don't wait until the transmission fails to change the fluid. But somehow, they treat their own body worse than their truck. That doesn't make sense. And here's the part most men don't expect. When a man starts addressing his health properly, not chasing symptoms, not hunting miracle pills, but actually rebuilding function, everything else improves. Focus, confidence, presence, relationships, drive. Man, that's what your women are looking for. That's what they fell in love with. And when you ignore all of those symptoms, it's really, in a sense, you're ignoring your relationship or your ability to be available and present for those around you who need you. So if if that resonates with you, I'm here to tell you and invite you, step up. It's time to step up. It's not because he became health obsessed, because he stopped being disconnected from his body. That's the shift. Getting reconnected with your body. So we're going to talk about the early warning signs that men are trained to ignore and why those signs are actually opportunities and not weaknesses. So the warning signs that men are trained to ignore, boy, the list could be endless. It really can be. I can think back of times in my life that I just ignored and ignored and ignored and pushed and pushed and pushed. So let's talk about those signs. They're not the dramatic ones. They're not the heart attack or the hospital stay. I'm talking about the early ones, the quiet ones, the ones men explain away. Because most men don't ignore their health. They reinterpret it until it fits a story that they can live with. Waking up tired becomes normal. Needing caffeine just to function becomes routine. Carrying weight in the gut becomes inevitable, or falling asleep on the couch becomes expected. Losing your morning drive becomes awkward, so it goes unspoken. And right there, guys, I'm telling you, losing your morning wood becomes awkward. So you don't talk about it with your spouse or your partner. None of that is normal. It's common. But common isn't the same as healthy. These are not character flaws, they're biological signals. And so the body communicates in sensations, patterns, and changes long before it communicates in disease labels. And men are often the worst at listening because listening requires stillness, and stillness feels like weakness to a man who has spent his life moving forward at all costs. Here are some of the most ignored warning signs I see. And I think about this with my dad. I have a stepdad and a biological dad. My stepdad died when he was 56. I was 21, I think, when that happened. And my bio dad is dead too. He died at 63. He was a lifelong alcoholic and lifelong smoker. I don't want to go out that way. Okay. I watched my mom die. Oh, it'd be 7 years ago this month. Oh, the anniversary already passed. Um, I watched her die. She died from dementia and unmanaged diabetes. And I told my sons, they were visiting with me in the last days with my mom, and I looked at my boys and I said, I'm not going to go out that way. I am not going to go out that way. I made a choice and I stepped up, and I am probably the healthiest I have ever been in my life, and I'm 60 years old. Everything is functioning as it should. I had a great workout in the gym this morning. I wake up with morning wood. I know, TMI, right? But everything works. And when you can stay, my belief and expectation as I continue to get older is everything is going to continue to work as long as I take care of this body and keep doing the things I'm doing. All right. So here are some of the most ignored warning signs that I see. Okay. Sleep that never feels restorative. You may be getting hours, but you're not recovering. That tells me that the nervous system is stuck in stress. Inflammation is high, or the body doesn't have the raw materials that it needs to repair. Another warning sign, loss of morning energy or drive. That's not just hormones. That's communication breakdown between the brain, adrenals, and metabolic systems. Okay. Belly fat. This is another warning sign. Belly fat that won't budge no matter what you do. That's not laziness. That's stress chemistry. Cortisol, insulin resistance, and inflammation are working against you. There's brain fog and short fuse. That's not age. That's fuel issues, toxicity, blood sugar instability, or chronic overload. And then sexual health changes. This one gets buried the deepest. But the body prioritizes survival over reproduction. So when resources are low and stress is high, sexual function is one of the first things to downshift. These signs are not punishments, they are warnings. And warnings are gifts if you respond early. So If you hear yourself in any of this, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not broken. You're adaptive. Your body has been compensating for a long time. What you're feeling is the cost of that adaptation. Okay? They're all warning signs. But here's what men are told instead: get more sleep, drink less, exercise harder, take this pill, lower your expectations. None of that addresses why the body is struggling in the first place. And this is where men get frustrated because they're used to effort producing results. Health doesn't work that way when the system is depleted. Pushing harder on a depleted system only deepens the hole. So, what actually works is precision, listening to the body, identifying stressors, removing interference, and rebuilding capacity. And when a man understands this, the narrative changes. He stops seeing symptoms as failure and starts seeing them as feedback. And that shift alone reduces stress. Because now he's no longer fighting his body, he's actually working with it. And this is what I did. I'm working with the symptoms that come up so I can make changes, I can adjust, and do what I need to do to stay healthy. It's an everyday game. Every day, men. Wake up every morning, and today is a new game. How are you going to play it? Are you going to play it half-ass, wimpy? I've played that game just like that because some mornings I would get up before I got my health back. I would get up and just not want to participate in the day. The exhaustion was running so deep in me, and the pain before I had my surgery on my stomach. The pain would be subtle in the morning, but all day, just that that background of pain running all day. By evening, I would be so exhausted, and I'd get off of work, and I'm now supposed to go participate, in supporting the kids in their after school activities and all that kind of stuff. And I've said this before on the show. I can think of times that my body was physically there, but I was checked out because I was so freaking exhausted. So I want to talk about that ownership without being obsessed about it. I'm not obsessed about it. I'm in a great healthy place. But here's where a lot of men get it wrong, I think. Okay. Let me grab some coffee here. If you happen to be listening, throw in the chat where you're watching from or listening from. Let's see, we got a couple people watching on Facebook. I appreciate that. It doesn't tell me who or where. That's why I always ask. I like to see. It gets the comments going. And if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, throw them in the chat as well. All right. So here's where a lot of men get it wrong. Hey, Christine. Christine's watching from Indiana. Awesome lady. All right. Here's where, a lot of men get it wrong. Okay. They hear a conversation like this and think that the answer is to go all in. There's Samantha from Forest Lake. Hey, Samantha. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Definitely pass this episode on to the men in your life, whether it's a dad, a husband, a son, all that. All right. A good friend. Anyway, so men hear a conversation like this and they think that the answer is to go all in. Okay, new supplements, new workouts, new tracking devices, new rules, new pressure. They turn health into another arena to perform in. And guys, that doesn't work. Ownership isn't obsession. Okay? Ownership is responsiveness. Real leadership over the body doesn't look like controlling everything. When you try to control everything, that puts you into a performance status. It looks like paying attention and adjusting before things spiral. But strong men don't dominate their body, they respect it. And respect starts with one simple shift. You stop asking, how do I push through this? And you start asking, what is my body asking for right now? And that question changes everything. Because when a man listens, he realizes his body isn't broken, it's overwhelmed, underfueled, overstressed. Women, you might relate to this too. Carrying load it was never designed to carry indefinitely. And this is why quick fixes fail. You can stimulate a tired system, but you can't rebuild it that way. You can suppress symptoms, but you can't restore function by ignoring the root. The men who get their health back don't do more, they do what's aligned. They remove what doesn't belong. They support what's depleted. They restore communication inside the body. That's it. And here's the part that matters. Okay? When a man starts taking ownership of his health this way, he shows up differently everywhere else. He's more patient. He's more present. He's less reactive. He's clearer in his thinking and stronger in his boundaries. Not because he became softer, because he became grounded. Health isn't about vanity, it's about capacity. The capacity to lead your family, the capacity to handle stress without snapping, the capacity to stay engaged instead of checking out, the capacity to still feel like yourself. And guys, that was me. Years and years and years of dysfunction in my health. I didn't know what it felt like to be myself anymore. It sounds crazy. I just didn't have the capacity to feel like myself. So, in capacity, it's not built in. Capacity isn't built in crisis. It's built in the quiet decisions to stop ignoring what you already know. Most men listening today already know something is off. They don't need more information. They need permission to act without feeling weak. So here it is. Taking care of your health isn't quitting. It isn't tapping out. It isn't admitting defeat. It's choosing to stay in the fight longer. And in the final part of the show, I'm going to talk directly to the man who's been thinking about reaching out but keeps putting it off because waiting has a cost and clarity always comes before change. So we're going to talk about why you don't need more willpower, you need guidance. Okay? I want to speak directly to the man listening now. And I know right now there's a couple women listening. And like I said at the beginning of the show, oftentimes I discover working with men because their girlfriends, their wives, their spouses, their daughters all encourage them to come see me. Because I think sometimes, and this was me, men get so frickin' dense in their head about what they should do about their health. They're in denial. They want to ignore it. They don't think anybody can help. They don't. The medical system, as I talked about earlier, has told them nothing's wrong. So they just keep going and going and going until they can't anymore. So I want to speak directly to that man listening right now who knows this is about him. You've read the articles, you've watched the videos, you've tried changing things on your own. And if we're being honest, you're still circling the same problems. I call that circling the drain. It's only a matter of time before you can't circle anymore and you're going to go down. It isn't because you're lazy. It's not because you lack discipline. And it's not because you don't care. It's because self-coaching only works when you can see yourself clearly. And most men can't when they're already exhausted. And this is why working with a health coach like me changes everything. A coach doesn't replace your responsibility, he sharpens it. Okay? This is also why Googling symptoms doesn't work. You don't need another list of things that might be wrong with you. You need someone who can see the patterns, not just the symptoms. So when you're inside the problem, everything feels personal. You guess, you overcorrect, you chase symptoms, you stop and start, you second guess yourself. And so a coach brings perspective. I don't come in to motivate you, you're already motivated. You came because something matters. I come in to help you see what your body is actually responding to, not what you think it should be responding to. Most men are trying to fix health problems with effort, and effort isn't the issue. Direction is. When a man works with me, we slow things down enough to get clear. And this also applies to women, by the way. It applies to everybody. When people are working with me, we slow things down enough to get clear. We identify what's draining him, what's blocking recovery, and what systems are under stress. Then we build a plan that matches his body, not someone else's protocol. That's the difference. And it isn't about handing your health over to someone else. It's about not walking blind. Strong men don't wing it in business. They don't guess in leadership. They don't ignore warning signs in equipment that they rely on. Yet they do it with their own body. And that's not strength, that's isolation. A coach gives you accountability without judgment, structure without pressure, and clarity without overwhelm. And here's what most men don't expect. Once they stop trying to do it alone, progress accelerates. Not because someone is pushing them, but because the noise is gone. They're no longer reacting, they're responding. And if you're listening today and you've been telling yourself, I'll deal with this later, I want you to hear this clearly. Later usually comes as a crisis. You don't have to wait for that. I don't want you to wait for that. You can choose clarity now. You can choose support now. You can choose to stop tolerating a body that's been asking for help. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you responsible. And if this conversation has hit home, reach out, ask questions, start the conversation. You don't have to have it all figured out to take the first step. And sometimes the strongest move a man makes is deciding he's done doing it alone. Okay? I've done that over the last couple of years. I've worked with a personal coach on my life. I continue to work with a nutrition coach. Even for myself, as a holistic health doctor, I have somebody else coaching me on my health. Okay. I have a fitness coach I listen to. I just hired him for another year. And I tell you what, since I've been working under those coaches, my growth, my success, my health has grown exponentially because I realized it's not weak to work with a coach, it's actually strength. And a coach is going to guide you and teach you and ultimately be better than them, I think. Okay. Um, so that's the content of the show. I want to invite you, men or women, anybody, if you're thinking about starting your holistic health journey, starting to take steps to get your health back on track, now is the time to act. I would say schedule a full health assessment. Okay. You can go right to my website. I'll put it in the chat. Schedule a full assessment. There's a button right in the middle of the page that says start your journey. Okay. Um, look at the top banner on the webpage. There's still a discount code for that full assessment. Currently, for 20, we're almost done with 2025. 10 more days. Okay. Get on the schedule. You can lock in 2025 pricing. So the code is going to give you $200 off and brings the price down to 150 for the full health assessment. Let's get an idea of where we need to start with you and put a program together. And if it sounds good to you, you can still lock in 2025 prices. Why am I emphasizing that? Because 2026 pricing will go up. So you can lock in pricing for phase one program. You can even buy a package to cover phase two. The phase two and three packages don't expire. You can even buy those at 2025 pricing, and they'll sit there in the bank until we use them. Okay. So I take all of it seriously. Okay. I don't accept everybody as a new client, but we go through that Q&T, the quantum nutrition testing full assessment process. It's a chance for you to decide if I'm somebody that you want to work with, and I get to do the same. It's like an interview both ways during that process. But I'll tell you straight up if I can help you or if I don't think we're a good match. Okay. But at least you'll have the information on where your current health stands. So let's do it. And if you want some tips, go back through my personal, follow me on Facebook, Jeff Evenson. I also have a business page, but follow my personal profile. You don't have to you don't have to put in a friend request. You can just hit follow. Okay. Because I'm considered a content creator on Facebook. So content creators, you can follow those people. Um, and you'll get, because I'm dripping content out every day about holistic health and how we can turn things around. So I really appreciate you guys listening. Let's see here. Oh, I have another aside before I close with the prayer. Um, yeah, I have a couple of sides here. This whole journey with working with men and women, working with people, I work with people of all ages and all sex. It's it's a personal journey. This has tapped into my passion because when I got my own health back, working with a holistic practitioner, it had such a dramatic impact on my health that I wanted to learn how to do this work And that's how I'm where I'm at today. Doing, I've been doing this over 16 years now. I wouldn't be talking about this if I hadn't lived it myself. I know what it's like to push, to ignore signs, and call it strength. And I also know what changes when you finally listen. Okay. And then if you're the guy who hasn't commented or hasn't shared and is just listening quietly, this message was for you too. Okay. So that is all I have. Follow the link, get scheduled on the calendar, and you can lock in 2025 pricing for your full assessment. And then there's still time if after the full assessment, after I present the plan to you, there's still time to lock in 2025 prices to get started on a program with me. And we talk about that after the full assessment. I'll sit down and I go over a report of findings with you. And I'll tell you in the report, here's what I found, here's what my recommendations are, here's how my program works, and here's what it costs. And at that time, you can decide, yep, I want to do this, or no, I don't think I want to do this. Okay. Um, so let's do it. All right. So let me close. I want to leave you with this. Okay. If something stirred in you today, and don't talk yourself out of it. Okay. Most men don't need more information. They need to stop ignoring the truth they already feel in their body. And you know when something's off. You've known for a while the cost isn't just physical. It shows up in your patient, your presence, your confidence, your relationships, your ability to enjoy the life that you built. You don't need to hit rock bottom to make a change. You don't need permission, and you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the next right step. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start listening to your body, reach out, ask questions, start a conversation. Whether we work together or not, clarity always comes before change. And if you're a woman listening today who's been wishing your man would take his health seriously, share this with him. Sometimes the strongest nudge comes from someone who sees the cost before he does. This work isn't about perfection, it's about responsibility. And responsibility is one of the most masculine traits there is. So I'll be here when you're ready. Okay? So let's close. Father God, I thank you for every man listening today. And I ask that you quiet the noise, the pride, and the fear that keeps men from listening to the bodies you designed. Help them discern the difference between strength and stubbornness, between endurance and wisdom. Restore clarity where there has been confusion. Restore courage where there has been avoidance. And restore hope where men have learned to tolerate less than fullness of life. Give them the humility to ask for help and the strength to take the next right step. Surround them with guidance, truth, and support, and remind them that caring for their health is not a weakness, but stewardship. We place this time, this message, and every man listening into your hands. Amen. All right, folks. Thanks again for listening. I love you all. That is all I have for today. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we will see you out there on social media, and perhaps out there, if you're close, I might run into you in town. Who knows? Talk to you later. Love you guys.